Throughout American history, African Americans have chronically been regarded as an inferior race, lower than any other. Slavery was an idea introduced from the mere stages of the nation, since the first colonists settled in the New World. These patterns within the African race demonstrated a long-lasting battle between slaves and the whole of society. Being deprived of the right to vote, as well as other civil liberties that all humans deserve, slaves endured a life of constant subjugation, cast aside to be the mules of society. However, during the late 19th century, African Americans revived the abolitionist movement by arguing for a higher standard, demanding the same respect as any other citizen. Oppressed men and women deliberately fought for suffrage through countless efforts, hoping for legal changes, and then succeeded in 1869. Although African Americans lived almost 200 years without receiving equal treatment, the 1800s proved to be a period of evolution for the status of slaves in the American community. From 1619 to the mid to late 1800s, African Americans had been viewed as to be at the very bottom of the food chain, if on there at all. This race experienced continuous discrimination in political matters, not being able to voice its opinions in public or have representation in the eyes of the law. In this time period, African Americans had been dispossessed of numerous rights, not being allowed to vote, being bought and sold like cattle, and previously being counted as 3/5 of a person, ultimately ignoring their rights as Americans.
Regardless of the persistent activism that occurred, the mentality of Africans being labeled as slaves moved into the following decades with under-the-table discrimination. Through the Union victory in the Civil War, freed the nation's 4 million slaves. The legacy of slavery continued to influence American history from the years of Reconstruction to the Civil Rights Movement that emerged in the 1960s, a century after emancipation. In contrast to this, in the beginning in the 1830s, the abolitionist movement attempted to achieve the immediate emancipation of all slaves and the end of racial discrimination and segregation that had lasted for years on end. Radical abolitionism was also fueled by the religious fever of the Second Great Awakening, which prompted many people to advocate for the termination of slavery on religion. Abolitionist ideas became prominent in northern churches and politics beginning in the 1830s, which contributed to the regional animosity between North and South, later leading up to the Civil War in 1861. Through meetings, public speaking, petition drives, lobbying, etc., the Civil War sparked and ended with African American men gaining suffrage in 1869, progressing from standby experience for the past 200 years. Though African Americans in the past took the step to alter their status in the eyes of society, a variety of races today face serious discrimination due to these preconceptions rooted in the depths of history.
Although changing a mindset is near impossible, and these ideas will always be floating around humanity, mankind can take the necessary steps through examples from the past and the present in hopes of a stronger and united future.